going to talk about was from that book, this new book that I started reading called The Wealth Money Can't Buy by Robin Sharma. It's a very good book. Highly recommend it. And read a chapter. All the chapters are like 1 to 2 pages, maybe 2.5. So really fast. You're going through these chapters, and the chapter that I'm on, or the section that I'm on, is growth is one of the is the wealth that money can't buy. Your personal growth and professional growth. And so um this one particular chapter just talked about the value. I don't have the book with me, so this is going to be a very abbreviated what I can remember from reading it a couple of days ago. um the one chapter was just so focused on, and ties into one of our most important core values, I think, as a company, is striving to grow personally and professionally, is that all of us are capable of so much more than we think we are. And the only but not if you don't try, right? Not if you're not trying for growth. Growth is the goal, because your ability to achieve is tied directly to your desire to learn and put new skills into practice. And anyone can learn anything. I mean, you don't ever have to be like, oh, I don't know how to do that. It's like, well, okay, do you want to know how to do that? Because if you want to know, you can learn. And I think too much of a lot of people think they're done learning when they finish high school or when they finish college. And you find out really fast that, you barely learned anything in college the first time you get a professional job. And then you really start learning on the job. And the question becomes, are you learning every year? Are you learning new things? Are you putting new things into practice all the time? Or are you living the same year over and over and over again and without any growth? I think that's the saddest thing that happens, and people settle for lives so much, you settle for a life so much below what you could have been capable of. And not that, the only thing that matters is striving. And I don't think that's what this book is about. This book isn't about making money. In fact, that's kind of the point of the book, which is like, so much of our society now is so focused on the outward signs of wealth, being a billionaire, having a jet, a Lamborghini, the mansion, like all of that stuff that you see on social media. And so many of those people aren't happy because there's such an imbalance of happiness everywhere else in their life, and well, wealth everywhere else in their life. So just a really cool reminder of why it's so important to continue opportunities to learn more and grow. I applaud all of you that do that, and that you step out of your comfort zone when you do that, right? Like, you're like, oh, I'm going to go learn something new. I got to put myself out there. And it's a really valuable process for everybody to go through. Jacqueline, did you want to, I covered your numbers and everything, but I thought it would be a good opportunity. Jacqueline stepped out of her comfort zone. She called Nicole Ruth and asked her if she could come and talk to her, and just talk to her about her business and how she did it all. And that's not an easy thing to do, right? It's hard to pick up the phone and go like, I'm going to call somebody who's way better at this than I am, and I'm going to find out what the hell they're doing. And uh, Nicole and I met because Nicole lives in my neighborhood. I didn't know that. I ran into her at an event a few months back. Movement Mortgage was doing, they asked me to come to this thing, and Ryan Hills is a good friend. And so I agreed to go. I didn't know Nicole was going to be there. And Nicole, that's when she told me, she goes, yeah, I drive by your house every day. And so we should go get coffee sometime. I was like, yeah, I would love to do that. So I met with her a couple of months back. And so when Jacqueline called her, Jacqueline's like, oh my God, I love your dad. I would love to meet with you. And so it's like, oh, this is really nice. Anyway, Jacqueline, I'd love for you to share, because you went to an event that she held just to see how she does the event. And then you also went to her office yesterday. And I think, the takeaway, I'll let you share what the takeaway was, but it's going to be surprising to all of you what the takeaways are. So go ahead. Talk about the event first.
Yeah, so if you guys follow her or Megan Aller on social, those two are like best friends and do a bunch of like the market updates. It's Megan Aller. If you don't know who she is, she's at some title company. I can't remember which one, but she's like a girl in her graph. She loves like statistics and all of that stuff. And so they do a monthly market update, I think, but they happened to do this one in person. And so I was like, oh, I'll just go to that and just kind of see what it was and everything like that. And it wasn't like anything earth shattering. I kind of was confused why a realtor would want some of the data that she was providing, because it just doesn't seem like it's actually going to get you more deals or more business. And then Nicole talked a little bit like what's the market doing and how to help people at the fence and stuff like that. And then I met with her in her office
So wait,
yesterday and
how many
go ahead.
realtors were at the event? How many realtors were at the event?
Oh, like 150, a lot.
So there you go. That's the takeaway is like 150 realtors showed up to an event. Jacqueline's expecting to be this whiz bang presentation of all this really cool material and everything else. And it was, this is
Just
all
like,
it is. And then she handed,
yeah,
Jacqueline got a flyer that she hands out at the deal. If I showed it to you guys, you'd be like, so like there isn't
yeah,
anything
it
on this
says,
flyer about what, yeah.
it says, it
Go ahead.
says, here's what sets us apart. And I'm reading it and I'm like, this is what everybody does. It's like, oh, we have really creative lending solutions. And I'm like, yeah. And like, do you know something different about math than I do? Cause I don't think you do. And then like, we have all these really great loan programs and I'm looking at them. I'm like, we have all the same loan program. Like there's nothing spectacular. There's nothing special. And then
The secret
like,
is she puts it in front of 150 realtors a month.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the secret. That's the takeaway
yeah.
is like, oh, wait, like we keep thinking we have to come up with some whiz bang cool thing, I think. And it's like, no, you don't. You just have to be consistent. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then so yesterday when I met with her, they have just a dry erase board on the window when you're walking into the room, into the office that had my name on it. And I was like, and I hated how I liked that my name was on the board. And I was like, oh, and then I was like, really a dry erase board? That's kind of dumb. So I just kind of like moved on from that. That her office space is really beautiful, but other than that, it wasn't anything that was like, oh my God, this is the best office I've ever been in. And then it's very modern and updated and all of that stuff. And then in the conversations with her, like she's not doing anything out of the ordinary. She's not, this is her thing is that she's really honed in on making sure she's a very positive and abundant mindset. And then she's figured out what she's really, really good at, and she hires out all the rest. And one of the things that she does consistently, it's clear that she really likes and is good at the education piece and like staying in front of agents. She's got some like partnership, I guess is the best way to describe it, with like 3 or 4 different real estate offices. And she's in there every month, like 3 or 4 offices and between 60 and 100 agents every single month that she's doing some kind of an educational class on. And then she still does that Agent Ignite thing. And then she does something called The Next Big Thing, which is like, I don't know, like business planning on crack, maybe like based on what she described, but like, that's it. She doesn't have a huge team. She's got 11 people in her office. She's got 4 loan officers that she does not feed. She's got 2 junior loan officers that do all of her work. And then once she gets the client in the door, she's out. She's not in the pipeline. She's not reviewing docs. She's not doing any of that stuff. So she's really figured out, because that's what I've been trying to think of ever since. And I was like, okay, well, so what am I really, really good at? And what should I hand off to a junior processor or an LOA or whatever that is? And so that's, I mean, I wasn't like, wow, that's the most insightful thing anybody's ever said to me. Like, it's the same stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't like, well, no wonder she does so much business. She's got this
No,
really cool
not
thing.
at
It's
all.
like, no, she has the same stuff we have.
She has a great attitude. She's really, really nice. And she knows what she's willing to do and what she's willing not to do. She has no boundaries. She did make that very clear. She's like, I answer phone calls all the way up until I go to bed and all day, every day. And she goes, but that's just how I work. And she goes, and there's agents who don't like that she hands off clients as soon as they come in the door. And she goes, I don't want to work with them. She goes, I'm not for everybody. So that was nice to hear, because it's just, I feel the same way. It's like, yeah, I'm personally not going to take a new app on the Saturday if you didn't prepare. That's the only time I go with my kids, and my kids are little, and sorry, call Rocket Mortgage. I don't care. Because then you're always going to expect me to be available 24/7, and that's just not how I can function. So that was it. It was more just like, oh, okay, has some similar perspectives that I do. Like, yeah, I've got some hard stop boundaries that like I just don't waver on. And that's really all how she's built it.
So if you guys go look at an MMI and Mobility RE and you look up her numbers, you'll see a long ass list of realtors that are one-off deals. And along with the group at the top that a chunk of business goes to, she'll have I think double digit, like maybe people in the 20s. So some really high producers, but then, into the teens, and then into the high single digits, like 8, 9s, 10s, and then a long ass list, and that's what she's doing, is she's putting herself in front of so many agents consistently that they're like, well, I'll use you, because they're not doing a ton of business. So it ties into what her numbers are. It's just the numbers, and you shouldn't, if you read that document that we got out of Ninja Selling called Mastery, when you're in the presence of somebody who's better at something than you are, don't look down upon it and go like, oh, well, no, well, yeah, that's like, no, because now you're not going to learn anything, and you're not going to, like, the goal is to learn from it. That doesn't mean, oh, I want to be just like her. You don't have to be just like her. You have to be just like you. And that's what I want all of you to do. But because you're who you really are is the best product that you can sell, and the product that all your customers really want to buy. They don't want to buy you being somebody else. So don't try to do that. But just understand where the money comes from, and it comes from her being in front of all those realtors and the commitment to doing that. If she's putting herself in on a monthly basis, she's teaching a class at a real estate office with between 50 and 150 agents. She's just in front of a lot of agents on a regular basis. It's name recognition, and it's repetition and consistency. And that's all it is. I wouldn't want to be answering the phone at 7, 8, and 9 o'clock at night. I know she probably doesn't want to do that, but she does it. I sat with her for an hour to an hour and a half when we met, and she didn't pick up her phone once. So it isn't like I think she probably is better at the boundaries than she thinks she is, but she isn't somebody who isn't going to answer the phone at 7 o'clock either. Her kids are grown. So to those of you that have the young children at home and everything else, I get it. It's a different conversation, and it's a different lifestyle. But as your children get older and they need less of your attention, it is easier to do that stuff. So just keep that in mind.
Well, and I'll say on that note, because I asked her about that specifically, because that's something I struggle with being a mom. And she's like, well, when my kids were my kids' age, she's like, I was only doing like 4 deals a month, and her husband was a stay-at-home dad. And she goes, and that worked really well for us. And she goes, and so it was like not easy, but it was easier because she had that part of the balance. She wasn't doing the volume that she does today. And so now her kids are in their 20s. I think she said her oldest one is like 22, maybe. And so now she's doing a lot more, and her husband works for her now. And I'm not sure what his capacity is, but that was the other pieces. She wasn't trying to do that was helpful for me, because it's like, okay, I don't have to do 200 units a year with 2 tiny humans at home and trying to do all of these things. Like, I need to scale this back a little bit, because the kids are more important than any loan that I'm ever going to do, or any paycheck I'm ever going to earn. So just seeing that perspective, she's like, she goes, as long as your home stuff's taken care of, she goes, production can fix everything else. And my coach has actually said that as well.
True story.
You also don't have to do as much business as her, because she has 10 people to cover overhead. So, I mean,
I think you're missing the point a little bit, but
yeah, she's doing all the production. She's got the 4 loan officers that are producing on their own. She does not feed. I think she said she had 2 process. Did you say she had 2 process? Her husband runs like ops. And
yeah, her husband runs ops. She's got 2 processors.
They don't do their own closings. They don't do their own. They run more like they process, and that's it.
Yeah, and then she has 2 junior loan officers. So as soon as the deal comes in the door, she hands it off. She says, she goes, I don't look at tax returns. I don't do pre-approvals. I don't do any of that stuff. I get them in the door, and then I go on to the next one. Here's something else that a lot of people I think miss is that, and this was my reality when I knew that in order if this company was going to grow, I was going to have to stop relying on my personal production for my income. And I knew that meant I was going to have to make less income in the short term. And so when you're growing a team and you're running a business, when you add labor to help you, initially, it's just part of the math. Like, okay, I have to make less, but I'm going to do more business. And so I'll make more total money. I think salespeople have this, how much am I going to make on every loan mindset? And that's a limiting factor in your thought process, that you have to expand that mindset a little bit. A great book on the subject is the E-Myth, if you're struggling with that, because he talks about, like,
if you just want to be a technician and you're the one like Nicole figured out, I don't want to be the technician anymore. I want to get the loan and then I'm handing it off. So what her gift is bringing the deal in the door, and she's willing to give up a portion of that income on loan earns to get more loans in the door. So it's just scale. It's how you scale any business, is that, if you own a coffee shop, you have to, otherwise you're going to stand there making coffee yourself all day, right? You either hire help and make less per cup of coffee personal income, or you make all the money on every cup of coffee that you make. So it's just that mindset. Anyway.
She brought that up too. She goes, I think salespeople are too attached she either said too attached or too selfish with their money. She's like, if you want help, if you want to scale, you're going to have to give up some of your income, but it will pay back spades in the long run.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable doing it, guys. Like, it was like, every time I did it, I had to step a little bit further away from my income. It was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to make less for a little while. This is really uncomfortable, but if I don't grow, I'm going to be the only one doing the loans, and that's where all my income's going to come from. And so that can be a limiting mindset. So just keep that in mind as you're trying to grow a real business. It's having a business owner, CEO mindset, as opposed to a commission salesperson's mindset. And there isn't anything wrong with being a commission salesperson. I'm just saying that you do have to I would say that Nicole's probably right, that most people get too selfish with it. Like going, no, I don't want to make all the money. It's like going, okay, well, then you're going to do all the work and you're going to take all the calls. And so I think it was, anyway, I just thought it was, I was more interested in the fact that it's like, there's nothing whiz bang there. Nothing, oh my God, she's got the coolest product, right? Like that's not what this was at all. So pretty cool. Just real quick, Giuseppe brought it up on the call at the end that maybe what we talk about for Coffee for Closers, maybe time that we do this on during the week. And now he's not here, so he can't like tell us anything. But evidently something came up and it makes sense for him why he's not here. So does anybody have any thoughts on this? I'm open to anything. I'm open to changing the frequency or changing the time or the day. I'm not in love with, I'm not married to this, like, this is the only time that works. I always felt like Friday mornings was a reasonable time just because it seemed like it would be slower, but, Friday mornings, typically the end of the week, a little bit different. Does anybody have any thoughts or feedback on this?
Do people want to do it earlier in the week to kind of get a pump up going into the week? I mean, because a lot of times, I feel like we leave these meetings, I'm super excited, which helps me crush, the rest of the day and part of Saturday if I'm working Saturdays. But I think it might be interesting to try and see if that has an impact at all to move it earlier in the week. But I'm not married. The only
problem with Mondays and Tuesdays is like they're busy contract. They can be really busy contract days.
Yeah,
I think that was the issue on Friday. Like, well, you don't want to do it on Monday.
Yeah, but Fridays are like meeting days, and in the summer people are traveling. I mean, just Fridays are hard to get attendance. I don't know. I think Tuesdays or Thursdays.
Didn't we move it off Tuesday to Friday last
I
time?
don't remember.
Okay, I think we used to do it on Tuesdays for like until the last maybe year and a half, and then we moved it off to Friday. But
I don't remember doing it on Tuesdays, but maybe
there's always going to be a bad time. Either we're going to be having meetings if it's either contract ends, or this is during the time when I'm meeting with realtors, or I've got lunches scheduled. Like, there's never going to be a perfect time. So, I mean, if anybody has like, okay, this is a great time for us at a specific time, I think like we can ask G, but I don't really know why.
Jacqueline told me she wasn't going to be on the call yesterday. I was telling her what we were going to cover, and I asked her if she had any thoughts about it, and she didn't. And then she said, what about maybe everybody getting like once a week in a rotational basis, somebody has to teach something on the call. How do people feel about that?
That'd be cool.
I love that idea. I would love for you guys to start participating and going, here's what I learned this week, and here's how it's working. But but you have to put some effort into it, right? Like, I don't want it to be like, yeah, I didn't really think, let me think about something I do. Like, I don't want you to show up to the call and do that, because if I was coming to this call without anything to talk about or anything, it'd be like a really low value call. So, and I'm not trying to get people to do my job for me. So I'll keep doing what I'm doing. But if people would like to do that, I would love to encourage that. I would love to encourage your participation in. Everybody's got, not everybody, but most of you have a lot of experience with this business, and the ones that, and it doesn't matter if you have a lot of experience or you don't, you're learning something all the time, and sharing something that you've learned is always really valuable. And the fact that if you have to teach it, then you have to master it, right? Like, so when you can teach something, you're really good at it. So how does everybody feel about that idea?
I like it.
Yeah, Ryan likes it. Chris?
I mean,
I like
I'd rather do like what we do, like what I learned last week. But
From the wins, you mean?
like, yeah, just like how we used to, this is a long time ago. Like we would just talk about, yeah, hey, I just learned how to do this, buy for your elderly parent type deal. Like, so kind of open forum rather than giving someone to teach something, I guess. That's
Okay.
just me. I think with the new Salesforce, I think we could save some time on not having everyone like guess what they, their leads and all that. Because you'll probably already have it. And you can just probably share.
Yeah, the new
you can show
dashboards are
everyone.
going to be really fun.
So we could cut some time off there. Everyone say what they're grateful for. I mean, I don't know. It
Well,
doesn't
and maybe
matter.
what we could do, because we're still a couple of months off from launching into all of those new platforms, but we could do maybe we could do a demo. Giuseppe asked if there was, maybe we could do a demo on the new product and pricing engine. Jacqueline, and just so you guys know, I did a quick demo with Jacqueline and Chris early on when I saw it, because I was like, wow, this is really cool. I want to try to get some other people's feedback. And so I just grabbed Jack and Chris, and they looked at it and they're like, this is pretty cool. It's so maybe I get those guys on to do a demo when we do it, just so that you can see how much faster you're going to be able to pull up product and prices. It's fucking cool. Because it's just live. As you update something, the price will change for you. If you update the DTI or the product property type, everything changes, right?